This guy's got to be every parent's worst nightmare come to life. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about this high school AP government teacher out there in Sacramento, California, who was also a member of Antifa. Yes, that Antifa, the same ones who have been out here looting, shooting, carrying on, beating people up, stabbing people, throwing stuff on people, all in the name of social justice and progressivism and really far-left communism. That's their ultimate goal, but they say, oh, we're just anti-fascist. We're the good guys. No, they're not. They are not the good guys. It's the same way people say, oh, critical race theory, it's anti-racist. That means we're not trying to be racist. We want to be the good guys. We want to fight against the racist. The reality is they are the racist, the same way the so-called anti-fascists are the fascist. But not only is this guy a cart-carrying, flag-waving, T-shirt-wearing member of Antifa, he also is indoctrinating your children, and he's bragging about it on videotape. Now, shout out to Project Veritas yet again for exposing guys like this. What I'm going to do right now is play some of their video. I won't play the entire 10 minutes. If you want to see that without my commentary, I'll link to that in the description box. But we're going to play a piece of it so you get to understand what kind of mentality this guy has and what his ultimate goal is. After we get done watching that, I'll come back. Then I'll give you my 2 cents, my deep detail analysis, and then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
I have 180 days to turn them into revolutionaries.
How do you do that? How do you
scare the out of them? Yeah. Sacramento organization that is under the banner of Antifa is very loosely organized, right? So like, yeah, when there is like right-wing rallies and stuff, then we'll create an opposition to that. Yeah.
Beautiful. Where would he go to connect to some of these organizations?
I post a calendar every week. Awesome. And then and I do it for extra credit, so they get points for doing it. So that encourages them to do it. And I've had students show up for protests, community events, tabling, food distribution, all sorts of things. When they go, they take pictures, they write up a reflection. That's their extra credit. I have an Antifa flag on my wall, and a student complained about that. And you said it made him feel uncomfortable. Well, this is meant to make fascists feel uncomfortable, so if you feel uncomfortable, I don't really know what to tell you. Maybe you shouldn't be aligning with the values that this is antithetical to. So the Cultural Revolution in the 60s was fixing the problem that came about after the economic one. It ultimately failed, right? There was a lot of excesses. People were definitely shot in the streets that probably shouldn't have been.
Incredibly ugly behavior come out of this city, and you can see a couple of people over there that might be demonstrating that.
I have 180 days to turn them into revolutionaries.
How do you do that? How do you
scare out of them?
Meet Gabriel Gipe. He's a public school teacher paid for by taxpayer dollars at Intercom High School in Sacramento, California. Gipe, who teaches advanced placement government classes, is not shy about his involvement in Antifa's local chapter. He even has an Antifa flag and a poster of Mao Zedong in his classroom.
All right, you saw that, you heard that. Now, I can't say I'm surprised at all, but that was really just over the top. Over the top. The guy is obviously a member of Antifa. My number one question would be, how was he even allowed to be in the school with the Antifa flag, Antifa shirts on, showing his face, I suppose, at Antifa events? How was it even permitted? Who is above him that says it's okay? It's no big deal that you're an Antifa and you're a far leftist communist and you want to brainwash these children, brainwashing them to the point where he has one of these political charts. And some of these things where you take a little test and says, okay, where on the spectrum do you lie as far as being centrist or far right, far left, center right, center left? A lot of these tests are biased already to the left. So if you take a test and you kind of on the left a little bit, you probably are further than that in reality. You keep going further and further and further. According to what this guy's trying to teach, what he's doing is creating his own Antifa army. Now, shout out to everybody out there that is able to kind of resist against this. People that have good parents, conservative parents, or a good family structure. All those things are very important. It used to be when kids would go to college, they would kind of get, brought on to all that stuff because they kind of been raised one way in one kind of town where these ideas didn't even exist. Their parents didn't tolerate that. Their parents didn't bring it into the home. So when they go away, when they become 18, 19 as a young adult, think they know everything, then they kind of become brainwashed. That didn't always happen. You probably have a lower success rate than you would starting at an early age. High school might even be a little bit old. Go back, elementary school, middle school. This is why they have stuff like, also in California, I saw there was a transgender reveal in the kindergarten class. Okay, little boy, girl, whatever, went to the bathroom and then came back dressed up as a different gender. And then they said, okay, now my name is X, Y, and Z, and I changed my gender. And the kid's going home crying, mommy, am I going to become a boy? Am I going to become a girl? Because the kids, they don't understand this. They don't have the capacity mentally to be able to grasp it and deal with it in the real way. So when they just keep getting bombarded with the information, that just becomes fact. It's just like growing up in the house where they speak in English. You're going to speak English. You're not just going to speak French randomly. Why would you do that? There was never any French around. You may be able to learn French once you get into college or high school or whatever, but it would never be as good as what you know as far as English because you grew up speaking English. That's your first language. That'll always be your best language, right? So they know that, meaning the indoctrinators, educators, whatever you want to call them, they know that. So they want to get you early on, before college, before high school leaving. But this guy is brainwashing high school kids who probably already have kind of a left lean, but he wants to take them all the way there. This is why these kids think that communism is a great thing. You get a picture of Mao Zedong on the wall, and people like Patrice Cullors of Black Lives Matter is on videotape praising Mao Zedong. Oh, it's a few million Chinese people dead from famine, from outright murder or whatever. It's okay because he had a good idea. You got to take what he tried to do and maybe fail and just take it to the next level. Okay. And one very alarming part of that talk is he was saying, well, some people got shot in the streets that probably shouldn't have been shot. Probably. So you think there's a situation where the greater good and the common purpose means that you might be able to get shot in the street if it calls for it? Okay, if you're getting in the way of progress, you're not letting those go forward. We can just shoot you in the street. And a lot of these kids are hearing the messages. They're hearing that from their teachers. They're hearing that from maybe sometimes at home. They're hearing that from your BLM and Antifa that go on television. They're hearing that from sometimes the news. They're going on social media. They're hearing the same thing. So this is why you have a 19-year-old that has no idea what they are. And I said what they are, I don't mean who they are. They have no idea who they are either, but they have no idea what they are. You got these 20-year-olds talking about, I identify as a Ram. Call me Ram and Ram Self for my pronouns, right? One person kind of broke my heart a little bit, but at the same time, kind of funny. But then again, not funny. They said the pronouns are it, like just that, no plural form, just it. Yeah, look at it. It's like, where's your self-confidence, your self-esteem, your self-respect? Does that exist anymore? Is that even the thing that we engage in? This is why people like myself and many others rail against the public school system as far as these teachers that are in there teaching critical race theory and any kind of subversive education that is meant to indoctrinate. Again, people want to say, oh, critical race theory is anti-racist. You shouldn't be against it. But we know what the end game is. We know what the curriculum, if there is a thing in critical race theory, we know what is in this package of information they want to teach our children. We know what's there. We know the end result is everybody's a racist. The white man's bad. I'm a victim. I can't do anything for myself. And the same thing with the Antifa guy. It'll be some of that same stuff. But also, you know what? You're oppressed. There are oppressors that exist. You got to go out there and be violent against them, attack them, swing your sword, maybe even bring a pistol. That is the mind state. So when you see these so-called rallies or protests that descend into riots, and you see 95 mostly white liberals with a couple of black and brown sprinkling in there, and they got the meth mouth going on and crazy colored hair, and you wonder, how did it get there? How did they become so far out? What happened? Guys like that happened. And he said, as I close, that he started so-called protesting when he was 13 years old. So who was teaching him at such an early age, like middle school, high school? Who taught him to go out there and engage in stuff like that? What's really going on? But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about this teacher who admits that he is Antifa and he's trying to, and sometimes succeeding in brainwashing children that are in his class? Whatever your thoughts on that are, let me know in the comments below. I mean, you guys pretty much know where I'm at with it. I think that guys like this need to get put up under the penitentiary, quite frankly. Not just fired, but up under the penitentiary, because you're doing things intentionally to harm children. And if you're going to be a teacher or any kind of way responsible for children, that should not be your objective, obviously. You should not be legally allowed to harm children. If you're a teacher, your job is to teach. 1 + 1 is 2. A, B, C, D, E. Basic stuff. You're teaching AP government? Okay. Now, what part of AP government says that communism is the way forward for America? What's that got to do with AP government? Talk about the functions of the federales, state, local. Talk about that. Talk about any kind of actual history here in the U.S. Don't talk about how that guy over there failed, but he had a good heart, all this, that, and the third. That's not your job. You're not educating. You are indoctrinating. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.
Perspective. Peace. Perspective. Peace.